Welcome back to Startup U. Today we're going to focus on people. Everyday people, normal people. Well, let's just call it normal. You are our audience. What we want to focus on is what makes a business work. You know, if you take any business apart, if you look at it, almost always, in fact, I would even go that far to say always, the number one cost is labor, which is people. Why is that? Because people ask you for a lot of money. Well, I'm sure they do. People deserve a good salary when they do a good job. You bet they do. But more than that, it's because they are your greatest resource. They're your greatest asset. A business is only as good as the people in it. You can ask any venture investor or angel investor, and they'll tell you up front, I would rather have a mediocre product and a great management team than a great product with a mediocre management team. It's true. People make things happen. Now, we've gone from people to personnel to human resources now. That's the latest shtick for you. It's the human resource department. It's our human resources that make up our business. So today, we're going to examine human resources. You know, the work environment is constantly changing. It's constantly shifting. Look at the past year. A global pandemic basically forced the question that's been on the table for the last decade. Can you work remotely as well as you can work in the office? Well, we didn't have a choice. We had to work remotely. We had to work from home. We had to adapt. We had to zoom right into business or go to meeting online, not in person. Now, grant you, I missed the free donuts and coffee. I don't know about you. And certainly the free lunches at those lunch and learns, those were great. But regardless, even if I was at home eating my Wheaties and my bologna sandwich, I had to work. I had to put out a good work product. I had to get projects done. So we adapt through our awareness, our appreciation of diversity and diverse cultural backgrounds, our selection of coworkers who we want to work with, who wants to work with us, and hopefully over time, recognition and promotion of ourselves and those around us. Human resources are what builds the business. Now, what affects human resources today? Well, there's a lot of topics we could go down a rabbit hole here with. The 1964 Civil Rights Act, the American with Disabilities Act of 1990, FMLA, the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993, I believe. All those things affect our business, our operations, and certainly today we appreciate the fact that diversity builds a better understanding and a better business. So we have made cultural advances. But what about staffing needs? What about recruiting? What about finding the right combination in a startup business? You know, I have a saying, and I'll claim it as my own, I've been saying it for years, that in a business under 50 employees, affability is more important than ability. What does that mean? Well, I could say look it up, but let me just summarize for you that affability is the ability to get along with others. It's the ability to interpersonally relate. It's the ability to be pleasant, perhaps even when you don't feel pleasant, to those around you that compose your workforce. It's like the old saying of one bad apple trashes the whole bunch. When you've got 10 employees and you've got one really bad employee that doesn't show up, doesn't participate, isn't on time, doesn't produce a good work product, is snarly and snappy to other coworkers, that's a problem. Let me tell you, it's a big problem, because you've got 9 decent employees who want to make things happen and one that's causing a problem. And you need to take action on that. And we'll talk about that later on in today's podcast. However, if you have 200 employees and you have one bad employee, okay, you make them vice president of looking out windows, put them in a corner, leave them alone. Maybe it's the chairperson's nephew, whatever. But the objective here is to make you understand that in a small group dynamics are extremely important. Not saying they aren't in a big company, but the impact is much bigger when you have fewer employees. So how do you find the right people? Well, you're going to hate me for this, but I'm back to making a plan. Yes, you need a staffing plan for your business. Short-term, long-term. Can you outsource some functions? You know, now they have personal assistants or professional assistants you can outsource to. You can outsource finances to a company that's really good and not necessarily one of the big 4 or something like that, but a local firm that's willing to do your books, do your taxes, do your bookkeeping. You can outsource marketing to a marketing specialist company. You can outsource social media to a social media specialist, and so on and so forth. But eventually, you're going to get to the point where you need staff. You need people to work with you toward the common goal of growing your company. So assess your short-term and long-term needs, and then sit down and write the dreaded position description. Now, I'm not talking about one that looks like some corporate yoho wrote it or some professional group wants various specifications, but what do you want this individual to do? What do you want them to achieve? What goals are you going to agree on for them? And how does their position advance the total goals of the company? Sit down and put it in writing. You know, type it up, whatever. Say, this is what I want this position to do. Then you need to organize a recruiting campaign. Any recruiter or headhunter, if you want to call them that, will tell you the best way to recruit is through them and pay them millions of dollars. No, I'm just kidding. The best way to recruit is through your current staff, your current employees, people they know, people they're affiliated with, people that they've worked with before, maybe at another job setting, who can help you do the right thing, hire the right people, achieve the goals you want to achieve. So really, present or former employees are your best bet first in hiring whom you need to hire. There are commercial employment agencies that do a great job. So I'm going to throw it out there right now because he's become a personal friend of mine as well as a tremendous asset to me in my career. David Adams, CareerLink International in Chattanooga, Tennessee. David has been a true partner with me as a professional recruiter over the last 30 years. Since I've been in management, I've reached out to David and sent him job descriptions. He's reviewed them for me. I've sent him needs and wants, and he's found the right people. I've sent him employees that needed to move on and get another job, and friends and family. A good professional recruiter can be a tremendous asset to you. Don't blow it off as a huge expense before you look at the value added proposition there. Certainly you can put out your own classified advertisements. Be very careful. I've put a clerical job on a couple of the websites that are out there right now. I won't mention them, but you know who they are. Recruitment websites, and literally for a very low paying job with no relocation, no anything, gotten thousands of resumes. And there are a lot of legal ramifications to that. Interviewing veterans, interviewing disadvantaged people, being kind of, phased in with interview requirements for people you may not think are qualified for the job, not to mention going through and screening to find the person that you do want, or persons as the case may be. The internet is a vast jungle, my friends. Be careful about getting on it with just a blanket request. Put as much specification on it as you can and try to limit your exposure. Get what you want, not necessarily everything in the universe. And certainly schools, professors. I've had the great privilege of working with great schools at Washington University in St. Louis, Indiana University's Kelley School of Business, the Warrington College of Business, at University of Florida. What great student interns, student employees, graduates who have become employees. It's just been a tremendous asset to me in small business growth over the last several years. So that's fairly important, to be able to find a source of people you want. And I would utilize any of those sources that you can. Now, suppose you get a bunch of resumes, a bunch of CVs, or a bunch of applications. Let's just stick to the bunch thing here. How do you screen those? How do you decide who to talk to? You can't talk to thousands of people for one job. Your time is valuable. You're a founder. You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to build a business. Well, number one, set up screening criteria. What are you looking for? It's amazing that they teach this in school. At least I taught it when I was teaching. Put the keywords in the job description or advertisement into your resume. A lot of companies will scan or computerize scan resumes that come in, and if they don't meet a minimum number of keywords, they go right into file 13, the wastebasket. So put in keywords, screen for keywords, know the keywords you're looking for. Secondarily to that, set up a screening committee. If you have more than one employee yourself, enlist the help of the group. They feel involved, they feel like it's important to them, and they feel like they have a voice in the selection. So involve your staff. Get everybody into the screening mode so they can help you find the right employee. And then last but not least, set up a want to have, should have, must have categories. Set them up, because you may not get your perfect employee every time, but you may be able to teach them. I was screening someone for an IT job at one of the places where I worked in the past, and one of the first questions I asked was, do you know HTML? And the person being interviewed said, no, but I could learn it. Well, do you know JavaScript? No, but I could learn it. Okay. Do you know networking? Do you know Linux? Do you know Microsoft Word? Do you know this program, that program, this IT term, that IT term? And the answer every single time was no, but I could learn it. I almost wanted to ask them if they wanted to eat lunch, but I was afraid they'd say no, but I could learn how to do it. So, you get to a point where if they don't meet that minimum, maybe time to move on, even if you like them personally a lot. Now let's go back to that. Affability is important, as we discussed earlier. In fact, more important that they get along with other people. Can they be taught things? Sure, but who has the time to teach them? Do they have a base knowledge? Well, I hope so, and you better know that criteria. But involving the rest of the staff gives you the idea, are they going to be someone who's going to contribute, work hard, be part of the team, get along with others? I've always been taught that if you have a bad day, don't take it to work. Yeah, right. Everybody takes it to work. I used to have a sign on my office door that said, "Not before I've had my coffee." And a couple of employees came in and said, "You know, that's intimidating when there's something we really need to talk to you about first thing in the morning." I took it down. I get it. I do. But still, it's not good to talk to me before I've had my coffee. But you want someone who can get along with others, be congenial. I've always told people, when you're the boss, it pays to be friendly with your employees, but you can't be their friend. Let me take a side note here and give you an example of that. I worked with 5 other people, 2 women and 2 guys, and we all got along well, and we all worked together as a team fairly well. And then one of the guys got promoted, and he started being kind of heavy-handed. "Well, I need you to do this." "Well, you're assigned to that." "Well, you're not getting this done the way I like it." He threatened one of the other employees basically and said, "If you don't start doing this the way I like it, you could lose your job." You know what happened? That employee came in and said, "Oh yeah? Remember that Christmas party back in 1999? And it was like, oops. You know, remember when you went out with all of us on the company nickel and got hammered and we had to bail you out of jail? And you gotta be careful is all I'm saying. You can be friendly. Don't try to be their friend. Don't try to be their buddy. Don't try to be their mom, dad, uncle. You get the picture. It's great to be affable. It's not smart to be casual. You have to maintain a relationship of respect and dignity at the same time that you get along with others. So we've established that minimum criteria that must have, need to have, would like to have, wish they had, so forth and so on. Interview according to that. Now, one more piece of advice about interviewing: stick to a script. Ask every candidate the same questions. Now, ask reasonable questions. I was talking earlier about an interview I had. I sat down, it was a software company, that's as far as I'm gonna go with it. But the guy said something to me in some unintelligible and I was like, "I'm sorry, what'd you say?" And he said, "Well, my first question was gonna be, do you speak or understand Klingon? But obviously you don't." And I said, "Obviously I don't. Didn't know it was a job requirement." Good one there. I started to say I spoke Wokey, but I was afraid that would lead down a path I didn't want to go. Anyway, stick to the script. Ask questions germane to the job, the goals, the company, the achievements you expect from this individual. Have everybody ask in the same vein the same questions. Don't get off the script. Don't try to be buddy-buddy and establish a friendly relationship. I got interviewed many, many years ago by a large corporation. 2 guys that brought me in, talked to me for about 30 minutes about the local professional football team. I was really puzzled. I finally interrupted it and said, "Aren't you guys gonna ask me something about the job or my experience?" And they said, "Nah, you've got the degrees and everything we want. We were gonna hire you anyway." That was weird. I asked them for a lot of money. Bet on that. So stick to the script. Know what you're gonna ask. Have everybody ask things in the same vein so you can judge every candidate appropriately. Don't get off on tangents. Don't try to be friends. Don't try to talk about hobbies and stuff and get off the deep end. Stick to the script. Also, be careful what you ask. Those acts I mentioned earlier have a lot of impact on what you can say. I was asked not too long ago how old I was. what year I graduated from college, what year I graduated from high school, where did I go to high school, did I have any children? All that's off limits. If you need more, we'll supply an interview guide for you here from Startup U that we have, so you don't have to start from scratch, and you have a tool to help you define an interview and set up good questions. So, what do you do after you hire people, after you get them on board? Well, first, of course, you do some sort of orientation. Who are they working for? What do you guys do? What are you trying to do? What market are you trying to take? Who's your competitors? What do you expect from them? But after that, the what do you expect from them becomes the real issue. Most people do what we define in business school as MBO, management by objectives. What goals do I have to hit to keep my job, to do a great job, to be recognized by you, to earn a bonus, to earn extra salary, to get promoted, to move up into a supervisory capacity? What are my objectives and goals, and how do they jive with the company's objectives and goals? That's a big thing to a lot of people. It's a very basic cycle of management by objective, of setting goals, tasks to achieve the goals, giving them to people, making sure they agree on that, and then evaluating them on a regular basis. I have to throw in a little personal slant here. I personally hate annual evaluations. They suck. Number one is most people don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so they put excellent, 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 excellent. Let's face it, when you go to a restaurant, you have to fill out one of those little 4-question surveys, and you had a decent meal and the service wasn't too bad, you just want to get through it and pay the bill, and you put 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. 5's good, 0 is bad. You want to move on. Too many people do that with annual evaluations, and then when they go to reprimand the person or implement corrective action or perhaps even terminate them, the individual goes, well, wait a second. Look at my annual evaluations. They look great. What's the problem? Evaluate people frequently. I actually have one-on-ones for no more than 30 minutes with each one of my employees every quarter. Every quarter. Of course, I have an open door policy. They can come in and talk to me, but I talk to them quarterly for 15 minutes, and then I let them question me and talk to me for 15 minutes about objectives for the company, for them, for their job position, and how their performance has been relative to those objectives. That makes a difference. You know, people like to be recognized. They like to be heard. I recently wrote a blog about listening. Your grandmother, my grandmother said, hey, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much and talk half as much. Listen to your employees. Let them tell you how they feel they're doing, how they feel the company is doing, how they feel you are doing, and how that fits within the company growth pattern. Wages are important. Let's face it, folks. If we worked for free, it wouldn't be called work, it'd be called fun. You know, I'm paying you to have fun, you know. Try going to one of the theme parks. It's a little pricey these days. But regardless, you work, you get paid. You want to get paid well. You want to get paid comparably. You want to be recognized for that hard work you do. A lot of people work for benefits. I've actually had people tell me during my career, I'm working for the benefits. I need health insurance. I need life insurance. I need optical, dental. I need those things for my family, for myself to survive. That's almost as important as wages. But wages are important. Paying people competitively, even in a startup, is important. Giving them stock options or stock is a way often to get them to buy in to the company, vesting them over time. And we'll talk about that in a future episode of Startup U. I know it sounds corny, but I've found out through my career that having an employee handbook is a big deal. Why? It doesn't have to be a Bible. It just needs to be rules, regulations, and guidelines. One of the worst things you'll ever do, aside from firing somebody, is setting up a dress code, because you're always going to get one knucklehead who's going to challenge you. Well, you said we couldn't wear flip-flops, but you didn't say we couldn't wear sandals. Well, you said no flip-flops and sandals, but you didn't say we couldn't wear tennis shoes with the toes cut out on them, with no laces. Well, you said now we can't wear tennis shoes with the cut. On and on and on. There's always going to be somebody that challenges you. Again, going back to affability, you're looking for reasonableness. Be reasonable. Be reasonable with me, I'll be reasonable with you. Dress for the kind of work environment we have, for the customers, what they expect. There was a time in my career when I had to wear a shirt and tie and a suit. Didn't like it then, don't like it now. Still don't understand the aspect of getting up in the morning and tying a knot around your neck and tightening it. Don't get that. I prefer the golf shirt slacks type of thing, easy come, easy go. I've actually worked a couple places in the warm climate down here. I'm wearing this jacket just for those of you in our northern clients today, also because the air conditioning is a little chilly. But I've actually worked places where shorts, flip-flops, t-shirts, all that was fine. Nobody ever came to the headquarters, nobody ever saw me. I actually work with somebody now that I really question over the past year. Have they been in the same bathrobe for the entire year? Not sure, I'm gonna leave that there. But regardless, there are casual atmospheres, there are business casual atmospheres, and there are still, honestly, formal atmospheres. But the idea is to provide an employee guidebook, an employee handbook that says, here's your benefits, here's how the job works, here's how the company works, here's my philosophy as the founder, the owner, the direction, all that kind of stuff. You are responsible in the end for employee morale. You're the owner, you're the founder, you're the CEO, you're the entrepreneur. You set the pace for everybody. You set the tone for everybody. Hey, I'm a human being. I've come into work not real thrilled, having individual problems, being angry, being tired, being disgusted, but I can't push that or press that on my employees. I have to keep the morale up. How do you judge morale? How do you judge if you're doing a good job? Number one is labor turnover. Are people coming and going? Are people hiring on and staying less than 6 months and hitting the road? You have a problem you need to figure out. Productivity. Are the tasks being done? Are the goals being hit? Are you moving forward at the speed you feel like you should be? Not necessarily you want to be, but you should be. Quality of your product. You know, there's a lot of people these days that are like, fling it out there and let's let them test it as it goes. Yeah, big mistake can really cost you. There's plenty of companies that can attest to that today. Service quality. Do you have an atmosphere of customer service? That's one of the big things I've prided myself on over the years, managing business incubators and having a staff that deals with entrepreneurs, hundreds of entrepreneurs, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. An attitude of customer service. We'll help you. We'll fix it. We'll make it right. We'll do what we can. We'll introduce you. We'll network you. We are here to help your company grow. That attitude pervades through the business. Like it or not, it starts at the top. Tardiness, absenteeism. I had a lady that worked for me once that was off every Monday. Then she was off every Monday and Friday. And I called her in after a month and said, what's the deal? And she said, it's not you. It's not the people here. I just don't like this job. Why didn't you tell me? We have other jobs. You're a good employee, or I can refer you to somewhere else. You know, if you have tardiness and absenteeism, that's a problem. And then, of course, last but not least is complaints. Do you have a constant troop of people coming into your office, your cubicle, online, saying, you know what's wrong with this company? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. you may have something wrong with your company. Think about it. Don't blow them off. Listen to your employees. All those things are really important in determining the health of your company morale, of your individual workforce. Last but not least, it's incumbent on you to develop that teamwork. It's incumbent on you to develop that team spirit. You know, during the early 2000s, and late 90s, corporations did a lot of goofy team building stuff. I remember going out in the woods and having to scale walls and rope swings, and for a while I thought I was in boot camp or something. And there was this one particular exercise where an individual had to stand blindfolded on a short platform about 4 feet high and fall straight backwards and trust the other employees to catch them. Now, I was the supervisor at that time, and I got to be honest, I wasn't real sure they'd catch me. They did, thank you, to each of the 11 of you that had to hold me up. But be careful there in doing goofy things that nobody wants to do, nobody likes. I have to sit through another video. I have to go to another training class. Training classes are important. Education and enrichment is important, but building that teamwork, that motivation that I want to be here, I want to do a great job, I want to see the company grow, I want this company to prosper, and I want to be part of it, starts from you. Build that team, build that morale, build that growth attitude into your people, and you'll be thankful you tapped into your greatest resource, human resources.